Hello, everyone. Diana Rankin here with your answers to a viewer's questions. And this was kind of a difficult question. I kept looking at it and thinking, oh, that's dark. Do I really want to go there? And I will tell you that with what has been taking place in our world, it was the perfect question. And I actually added a little bit to it. So I want to first of all welcome everyone and tell you what we do here is viewers ask questions of a general nature that will be of interest to the whole audience. And if you have personal questions, please see the information below. That's how to get a hold of me. It's just my name, is my website, and my phone number is on there. And please get a hold of me and we'll set up a private session for you. And the fees and all of that's on the website. We also get a message, a weekly message from Phillip from one of my books. It's called The Master's Book of Answers. And as I mentioned, Phillip is my spirit guide. And as many of you know, we just opened at any page and it's an oracle book. So we opened any page and get our message. And I use this book every day and I say, ask Phillip, what's the wisdom you have for me today? Other people use it as they have a question and then they'll go and just open to a page and get the answer. If you have an ebook, there are ways of using that. One is if you downloaded the ebook, you can just come up with a number and go to that page with your question. There's a couple of different ways of using an ebook as well, but that's probably the easiest. Just come up with that number and open to that number or scroll down to that number, however you do it. Anyway, we will get our message. I want to get going here because this is a long answer. And, when I say long, I'm not talking about an hour long or anything like that, but excuse me, it's more than 5 minutes long. Well, I don't know that the answer will take me 5 minutes to read, but anyway, I divert here. I want to just ask everyone, let's just hold the world in loving energy, and certainly hold all leaders of the world in loving energy. We're in a difficult time in our world right now. And I want all the people of Ukraine to know that we are holding you. And the people of Russia as well. I don't think the people want this. But let me get to this, because this will answer some of those questions. The viewer, and if you have questions, by the way, just put them in the comments below and I'll get to them, or you're welcome to email them to me. So the viewer said, I'm curious to know about serial killers. Do they serve a purpose on Earth? What happens to them in the afterlife? And do their victims agree to be a victim in spirit before being born? Those are the viewer's first questions. I added some thoughts to that, and I asked, why are there political leaders who invade other countries, killing the people of that country and harming their own people? I also wanted to know, what if political leaders who cause harm and death from poor policies that harm the people? We know from a human perspective that we can get into the psychology of it, and the ego gets involved in narcissistic personalities, et cetera, et cetera. What Phillip, my spirit guide, gives us is the higher perspective, because we're coming from the spirit side. We are both human and spirit, and we are growing as humans the more we allow our spirit to come through. So here we go. Here's what Phillip has to say. I had said to Phillip that I added these about the war and the leaders because it felt very similar to the serial killers. And Phillip says, you are right that there are many similarities, although those who harm are treated differently depending upon their status. There are also differences in the offenses, and these we will address. We will address the overall similarities and differences in the Earth's dimension and also in spirit. Well, I think in Earth's dimension, we're fairly aware of that, but those differences. But let's go on. Let us begin by saying those who take a life intentionally do so out of ignorance, retribution, or agreement. So if you take those who take a life do so out of ignorance, retribution, or agreement. If a life is taken accidentally, what we are about to say does not apply. So if there's an accident, a car accident, for example, and a life is taken and the person who was responsible for that accident it slid on ice or it did something that, even though they took a life, it was not intentional. So we're talking about the intention. If we start a war, there's an intention of taking life. If we are a serial killer, there's an intention of taking life. So Phillip goes on to say, let us discuss ignorance. Remember, ignorance, retribution, or agreement. There are new souls who come into Earth's dimension who quickly forget the full purpose of their coming to this experience and remember only that it is an experience. It becomes overwhelming, so depending upon the input they receive, they will either grow and come to understand the experience or they will strike out. The latter will take place if they have closed off communication with their spirit and delved deeply into the human world. They will behave much like those who are involved in games. Life as experienced is a game. It is not real, so the screams of their victims are not taken into their hearts. Do not think that every young soul has this experience. They do not. As we said, it depends on the input of the young soul. It depends upon the input the young soul receives when having the third dimension experience. As this being goes through life-death experiences, they will eventually grow into a compassionate person, but this may take many lifetimes and much time in spirit world. It is within those lives lived before becoming an old soul and compassionate being that those you ask about in leadership come into being. While between earth lives, they contemplate how to harm rather than study how to do good works. To learn the latter will take many more incarnations and time spent in spirit. While in spirit world, all are offered guidance, love, forgiveness, all that is needed to become a compassionate being. None of this is forced on another, however. As in Earth's dimension, you may choose what to learn, who to communicate with, what paths to take. Free will does not go away because one is in spirit world. It is necessary that we point out that a very old soul may be asked to enter human existence and take many lives. Unlike the newer soul, the old soul recognizes the harm and knows these are human beings. But this old soul is acting to create balance in a world grown out of balance. For example, this being may be acting for Mother Earth, who has cried out for help to thin the population, for she is being harmed and cannot sustain herself with so many. Now let us talk about the victims as well as why the one who harms and the victims come together. There are several reasons, so we shall give the most common with a broad brush. If the one who kills does so out of ignorance, then in another life, the first victim may take the life of the one who took their life. This would be in retribution. You took my life in another experience, so I will now take yours. This is seldom a soul agreement, but rather a soul who has not yet grown to understand forgiveness of self as well as of others. For example, if you took a life and forgave yourself, you will leave that energy. However, if you feel the need for punishment, you will draw that energy to you until you grow into compassion for yourself. The same holds true if it was your life that was taken. If you forgive, you leave the cycle of killing and being killed. This holds true whether it is a war where many are killed or where one is killed. So we have ignorance, we have retribution. And as long as we're in that energy, we're going to keep that cycle going. Phillip goes on to say, when agreements, which is the third reason, when agreements are made in spirit world, they are usually for the higher purpose of those making the agreement and for the growth of humankind. For example, one may agree to give up their life, which then brings into consciousness the misdeeds of others, which then allows the consciousness of compassion to grow throughout the population. How one's life is lived depends on the energy in which they live in both Earth's dimension and spirit world. If one lives in the energy of fear and anger, they will experience this. If one lives in the energy of war and enemies, this they will create. If one lives in the energy of love, this they will create. Both may be created with young souls to know the experience. It may then take multiple life experiences to reach the growth of an old soul who takes in stride all that transpires in the earth world and chooses to respond in love and compassion. Although it may not come to fruition within this lifetime to reach the fullness of love, we suggest you start now within the life you have before you. Excuse me. I'm going to read that last paragraph. Although it may not come to fruition within this lifetime to reach the fullness of love, and that's love with a capital L, by the way, we suggest you start now within the life you have before you. Although not come to fruition within this lifetime to reach the fullness of love, we suggest you start now within the life you have before you. Compassion, love, oh gosh, they're not always easy. But Phillip is saying it's a process. Get started. Let's get a message, shall we? There we go. If you heard left, which is what I'm hearing, our intuition is in sync, and that's your message for the week. But if you heard right, that's a message you need to listen to. And I always read both pages because that's a message you need to hear. All right, so here's what we have for the left, for all of us. You only have this moment. Yesterday was, tomorrow is yet to be. Today is as you choose it to be. You only have this moment. Yesterday was, tomorrow is yet to be. Today is as you choose it to be. That's the message for all of us. And as Phillip said, start now to practice love, to bring more of our spirit into our human self, bringing that divine light into our bodies, but mainly into our consciousness. If you heard right, this is a message you need to hear. When you are frantic in your search, it may be because you are afraid to find that which you seek. When you are frantic in your search, it may be because you are afraid to find that which you seek. But for all of us, you have only this moment. Yesterday was, tomorrow is yet to be. Today is as you choose it to be. Hello, Theo Theta. So good to see you, sending us hearts. I'm not doing it right, but I'm trying to send you a heart here. There, now I'm getting it. All right, thank you. My friends, these are not easy times. And please, if you haven't already, do go listen to the March predictions. I just put those out. I think that, and again, I remind you to listen through Phillip's whole message because he always tells us what is, explains why it is, and then he gives us hope or tells us how to make it better in our lives. And if we make it better in our lives, we make it better for all people. Hello, Wendy. I am here. Heart to you, she says, and to you, Wendy. Well, this was a difficult subject, but I think it helps to look at subjects like this and to help us understand. We don't have to live in the consciousness of war. Even though there's one going on, it doesn't help us to go live into that difficult fear if you're being bombed, you're going to be in fear. Of course, if you're living in an underground railway station to stay safe and keep your family safe, there's a lot of fear in that. So those of us who are not in that space, we can live in a place of love. And if we live in as much love as we can, then we can move that into those places that now are in so much trouble. We can help Ukraine and also the Russian people, because I don't think the Russian people want this. We're seeing demonstrations that they don't. Theo says, thank you, Diana. Your videos are always insightful. Thank you. Thank you. And Annika says, hi, Diana and Phillip, and sends flowers. And thank you all. You guys inspire me. Believe me, it's for you. I do this because of you. I did this privately for years with my own questions and felt called to do this. And you're the ones who keep me going. I would not do this if not for all of you. So I thank you. Those of you who come on live, I thank you. Those of you who make comments below, I thank you so much for the thumbs up and the likes. And I thank you for being there for me because you hold me together. Update on Daisy Dog. It's amazing. I can't believe she's still with me, but she is. She does have some neurological issues. I will not say it's easy. And we are also going through the passing of a loved one in my family. So I am so appreciative of all your prayers and your love that you send to me. You're holding me together right now and supporting me. I do want to say this book, along with my others, are available on Amazon, or you can go to my website and it'll take you there. Again, keep in mind this last paragraph that Phillip tells us. Although it may not come to fruition within this lifetime to reach the fullness of love, we suggest you start now with the life you have before you. Thank you for your love, and thank you for the love you give to the world. And thank you for receiving the love we send to all of you. Until the next time, my friends, I love you. Thank you, Theo. I appreciate that. To all of you, thank you. Your support means everything. Till the next time.